Just when you thought the Canadian politics couldn't get any more tone deaf, hold on to your seats, because last week in the House of Commons, Liberal MP John Paul Danko from Hamilton West Ancaster Dundas stood up during a debate on Bill C-9, that's the so-called Combating Hate Act, and spewed pure, unadulterated nonsense, responding to Conservative MP Andrew Lawton raising real concerns about civil liberties and hate crimes. Danko accused him of peddling alt-right conspiracy theories for daring to mention the over 120 churches burned, vandalized, or desecrated on the Liberals' watch. Let's dig in.
Repeated conservative conspiracy theories over and over in the House. If we want to talk about real hate crimes, and I'm not quoting, alt-right, so-called alternative news.
Conspiracy theories is the usual rhetoric coming out of Liberal MPs who may be blissfully unaware that the desecration of churches isn't some fever dream. It's a documented, government-confirmed fact. The Liberal government's own records prove it, and dismissing it as fringe garbage isn't just ignorant. It's inflammatory, dangerous, and a slap in the face to every Canadian who's watched their places of worship go up in flames. So let's tear this apart with the cold, hard evidence MP Danko clearly hasn't even bothered to read. Now, it all ignited, and that's a pun very much intended, back in May of 2021. That's when the Tk'emlúps Secwépemc First Nation announced ground-penetrating radar had confirmed the remains of 215 children who were students of the Kamloops Indian Residential School. The history of residential schools is undeniably tragic in some instances, with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission documenting over 50 known deaths at Kamloops alone, but most were due to disease. Yet despite the initial claims, no human remains have since been recovered, and there's no public accounting for the $7.9 million allocated for this investigation, according to Blacklock's. Now, the chief has since updated the verbiage to unmarked anomalies. Similar announcements followed in Saskatchewan and elsewhere. 751 graves at Marieville were in an existing Catholic cemetery, headstones removed decades ago. So these were not new discoveries. And the media, well, they unquestionably feasted on this narrative. The New York Times called them mass graves. USA Today claims 215 children found.
Less than a month after the remains of 215 children were found in British Columbia.
The Associated Press peddles over 600 bodies discovered. Statues were toppled in rage. And former drama teacher turned Prime Minister Justin Trudeau jets in, lays down a teddy bear like it's a crime scene for a photo op. The Tk'emlúps chief put forward a successful motion that referred to the discovery of these 215 suspected graves as mass graves, demanded an apology, which Pope Francis delivered, and even floated an international criminal court probe for crimes against humanity. And what happens next? Churches burn. Pre-2021, there was a relatively constant flatline at 35 to 58 burnings per year. And then in 2021, that spikes to 90, doubling previous figures. And that spike continued into 2022 and 2023 with 74 per year. This tidal wave of hate crashes down on Christian churches, and Juno News mapped it all. 123 attacks since Kamloops, arson in Tofino, Penticton, vandalisms in Vancouver, Calgary, Saskatoon, 23 arsons in June to July 2021 alone. And the proof? It's straight from the Liberal government's mouth. MP Jamil Javani filed an order paper question in October of 2024 asking how many churches have burned down that the government is aware of. Their response was tabled in Parliament. 463 burnings from 2016 to 2023, steady at 50-ish before 2021, and then boom, 90 the second headlines hit. RCMP probes everywhere. Suspicious fires in Alberta, BC, Manitoba, firefighters injured, 2 dead in a Winnipeg attack last year. Excavations that did take place, like at Pine Creek in Manitoba, found only animal bones and trash. None suggested evidence of human remains, said the chief. Now, during Rebel News' coverage of the leadership debates earlier this year, the state broadcaster CBC even had to correct its own chief political correspondent, Rosemary Barton's misinformation about mass graves, potential burial sites, or unmarked graves, they say.
Yes, there have been remains of Indigenous children found in various places around the country.
Now, back to the facts, because these aren't alt-right blogs, as Danko would have you believe. These are the government's own records, parliamentary records signed by the Liberals' own ministers. Calling it a conspiracy while pushing a hate bill that could jail people for questioning narratives like this isn't leadership, it's textbook gaslighting. Christians aren't the villains here. They're the victims of a hysteria that the liberals fanned into flames that now pretends doesn't exist. Downplaying real hate crimes while virtue signaling about combating hate is the real conspiracy, and it's not a theory. And you can't have truth and reconciliation without the truth. For Rebel News, I'm Tamara Ugolini. Under Justin Trudeau's watch, churches were shuttered, pastors were jailed, and worship was criminalized, and then churches burned. We documented all of it through a powerful documentary called Church Under Fire, Canada's War on Christianity, exposing the shocking truth that mainstream media won't touch. They tried to silence Christians, but editor-in-chief Sheila Gunn Reid still told the story about the fight for religious freedoms here at home. Watch for yourself at SaveTheChristians.com. That's SaveTheChristians.com.